Tell me, Orange Nation, you gotta wonder, has the basketball team really improved? Well, I'll give that pretty good answer for you. In ways, yes and no. As yeah, after their big win against Tennessee, where I thought, hey, we're back, guess what? They have a couple pretty interesting games. First, against St. Joseph's, one of the Philadelphia Six. Yeah, St. Joseph's is one of the Philadelphia schools you don't hear much about, but has a big reputation with basketball like the other five. Well, St. Joseph's was a pretty tough opponent for the Orange, but the Orange prevailed. But what about the game against Hofstra? We were back to our old ways. Our old ways were, hey, the basketball team seems to lose to a tomato can every year. Hofstra is that tomato can. And you know what? Hofstra's probably beaming with pride, because they had beaten the Orange. Heck, they're the pride, no longer the Flying Dutchman. What, did we have somebody who was offended by the Flying Dutchman? Heck, Norm Van Brocklin wasn't offended when people called him the Flying Dutchman, or the one who makes the ship, or the sailing boat that's a competitive yacht, the Flying Dutchman. Nobody was offended there, but oh well. Maybe somebody in Amsterdam or Rotterdam probably said something. Of course, you know what they call that disease over there in the Netherlands from being offended? The Hague. Oh well, but I mean, enough of that. The big loss there to Hofstra, right on Saturday, right when the It's a Wonderful Life race was going on. Something was at work there, and yet, heck, there's a lot of people now definitely calling for Autry's head. Of course, we'll see what happens with the three final non-conference games. First, tomorrow night, against one of the newer teams in Division 1 from Erie, Pennsylvania, Mercyhurst. They already are Division 1 in a couple of sports, hockey to be exact. And they are the alma mater of my former neighbor, Beth Dragone. But you know what? We should beat Mercyhurst. And then on Saturday, look for me in the audience there in the Dome when the Orange take on our old friends from Boston, Northeastern, and also from a suburban Boston a couple of days before Christmas. They take on Stonehill College, who's jumped up to Division 1 themselves. Although we played them nearly 50 years ago when the Louie and Bowie show was in its infancy. But you know what? We got to get going because we got to be ready for ACC play. Hopefully it's not a repeat of last year where we finished below 500, our worst record in a long, long time. Red Autry said he was going to have this team back. Well, we're back, but you know what? We still can't shoot free throws. We still lose to tomato cans here and there. If we're going to go back to the tournament, we got to put it together. Syracuse basketball meant something years ago. What's it meant lately? A lot of pain. Come on, Red, do something about it, or you're going to be out of a job. And speaking of that, seems as though there's been a pretty good exodus of Syracuse football players before the portal opens just after New Year's. And of course, it's only going to be open for a couple of weeks. I'm kind of wondering. A lot of these players, some of them are committed, but some of them just seem to jump ship. Because, hey, loyalty doesn't count for schools anymore. I'm just wondering, can we slow the flow of players into the portal? I don't know. But of course, Brown wants to bring in a couple of quarterbacks. Anything better than the rancid end of the season. Yeah, rancid is the word for it. Boy, did it leave a bad taste in my mouth, guys. Ugh. But oh well. it's football, and of course, we're moving into bowl season. Heck, we already had the LA Bowl. We already saw Washington defeat Boise State. And tonight, it's two old rivals from the FCS in their bowl, Jacksonville State and Troy. You know, those Alabamans definitely like their football, even if they're not rooting for the Crimson Tide or for the Tigers, the two big teams in Alabama. But of course, it's bowl season. That's what they're for. Let's go, Bulls. And come on, Orange, you better make some big hits in the portal. We got a couple good-looking quarterbacks going in the portal, even the one from Florida. Is he worth a look-see? Or the kid from Nebraska. Is he worth a look-see? Let's hope. Because, hey, Brown, I'm holding you to your comments. No more rancid football like we experienced the second half of this year. We want winners. And speaking of winners, how about the Bills? Seems as though they're finally putting it together. But the thing is, you know what is really getting my goat? Yeah, slow starts. It seems as though they're very sluggish getting out of the gate. They look like JV teams for part of their first half. Then they turn into Superman in the second half. Josh Allen, again, unbelievable in the second half. But in the first half, he looked like Clark Kent. Yeah, the last three games, Buffalo has definitely looked like a bumbling Clark Kent. And then they turn into Superman in the second half. Christian Benford, he was injured, but I mean, heck, he's turned into Superman. And heck, James Cook, he's turned into Superman. But I mean, we got to stop these slow starts, especially because we got Cleveland coming up this Sunday, and to close, Philadelphia and the New York Jets. It's what happens in these next three games that is going to determine Buffalo's playoff position. And speaking of that, we'll see you next year, Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, I'm sorry about your knee. I don't like seeing people get hurt. But Kansas City's running the playoffs is over. So is pretty much Dallas's running towards the playoffs. And definitely Miami. Because, hey, the Steelers took care of the fish. And we didn't have to see Tua maybe Tagovailoa against somebody, especially Buffalo. Well, we'll see what happens. Right now, we're the 6th seed. You got to think about Buffalo now. Can they catch New England? They beat New England, but can they catch them? And New England holds a couple tiebreakers. It's going to be interesting these last 3 weeks of the season. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Josh Allen. And congratulations. You're going to be a father, Josh. And Haley Steinfeld, the queen of Buffalo. Hey, I like how you dress. But next time, kind of leave the globes to Liz Taylor. And I am going to talk about Sharon Moore and Michigan. Boy, is Michigan bollocksed up their football team the last few years. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh, celebrated alumnus, the coach of the Wolverines. But the thing is now apparently he engages in cheating. And yeah, he was caught. And yeah, they didn't fire him. They only suspended him for a few games because, hey, he's a celebrated alumnus. When Sharon Moore, supposedly a dream job for him, a couple of years ago when Harbaugh was suspended for this cheating, Moore comes in, wins 3 games, and he's all emotional. Oh, it's just a dream come true. And then, a couple of years ago, when Harbaugh moved on to coach the Chargers, guess what? Moore is now the coach. But you know what? Michigan didn't do much of any vetting. Because, hey, if you got a candidate to be a head coach, you got to vet to see whether they got all their capacities there. Turns out this guy's mentally unstable. Heck, was found out that he carried on an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. And what does that do? Combined with the fact that he helped Harbaugh with some of the cheating, yeah, he's out of there. And what does he do? He goes, and now he's probably going to lose his freedom for quite a few years because, hey, he confronted the person who made these accusations. Well, you know what? This proves that there was merit. This proves that this guy is a real first-class douchebag. And you know what? I hope you do go to jail. And Michigan, what damage has this done to your program? You know, I used to respect this program quite a bit. Bo Schembechler, when he coached the Wolverines, he was one of the best coaches there was out there. I respected the man, and I would run through a brick wall to play for Bo Schembechler. But now he's turning over in his grave, seeing what's happening to his beloved Wolverines. Michigan, you gotta get right the ship here. As you know what, I lost a lot of respect. The fact that you let Harbaugh get away with this, but hell, he was a celebrated alum. You didn't vet more, and hey, you kept him going because, hey, he beat Ohio State. But you know what? You gotta make sure that all their capacities are right there. Just a very shameful thing, you Wolverines. Maybe we ought to trap some. Who knows? And of course, going into the bowl game against Texas, you know, Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns are probably licking their chops. Bebo might break out of his docile state and go, what a sad thing, Michigan. And last but not least, what a great festival it was again for It's a Wonderful Life. But I mean, you saw Zuzu's now in a wheelchair. Of course, a lot of the cast members are in their 80s or their 90s. And I mean, I kind of wonder how much longer Carolyn Grimes is going to be with us. Hopefully she's with us next year for the 80th anniversary of the film. And another great 5K run. And of course, local basketball keeps pushing on. Minders seems to have a couple pretty good teams, and so does Waterloo. And it was a great battle between the Waterloo boys. Minders coming out on top. But of course, the atmosphere again was electric. And look for me in the next couple of games, because I'll be announcing the lineups for Waterloo games leading up to Christmas break. And you know what? I'm going to sign off by saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'll see you after the New Year.